Hello everyone, I hope y'all are doing well. My name is Valerie and welcome to Val N Vibes. Alright, so in this video we're going to do a get ready with me, and we're also going to do a little talk through about the connection between motivation and discipline. Alright, so we're going to start with the eyebrows. So for my eyebrows, I like to use this Anastasia Beverly Hills eyebrow wax. Basically I just get a little bit on my finger and a little tap 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 like this. And then I just place it on my brows. And then after I do this, I kind of rub the wax into my eyebrows. And then from there, I take my little spoolie and place the hairs where I want them to go. All right, so after you put them where you want them to go, I use the flat end of this brush and basically just press them into place. It's basically like laying your eyebrows. You know, you want to make sure that they don't move. And this wax has a really good hold, so it's just about making sure you're almost like making sure they stay where you want them to stay. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it to the other side. All right, so motivation is defined as the reason or the reasons why we behave a certain way or do particular things. It's also defined as the general willingness or desire for someone to do certain things or behave a certain kind of way. Basically, simply put, motivation is what pushes you to do certain things, to pursue different things in your life, to act a certain kind of way. It even kind of, to a certain extent, influences what we define as right and wrong, and you know, it has a huge purpose or a huge role in determining the different kinds of things that we do and determining what kind of person that we want to be, what motivates us, you know? So when you look at the idea of like extrinsic motivation, that's kind of like when you are motivated to not do something or to do something out of fear of avoidance of some kind of like punishment or ridicule or some sort of like negative effect that you don't want to happen. This is good. So the definition of intrinsic motivation is basically being influenced to behave a certain way or to act a certain way due to the internal rewards that you would receive. So basically things that bring you personal value or gain. So you would have done it anyways, basically. So I'm about to use this shade right here from my Juvia's Play palette. But basically intrinsic motivation is when you act in a certain way without any obvious external reward. So that's for example, like partaking in an activity because you simply enjoy it or because you see it as an opportunity to learn or to explore or maybe actualize your potential. It's just basically focusing on different things that you do because it's of benefit or of value to yourself and helps you advance or to improve yourself in any kind of way. All right, so next I'm gonna use these two shades just to kind of blush it up and add a little bit of warmth. So I'm not necessarily saying that one type of motivation is better than the other, because to be honest, I feel like the lines are very, very blurred. I think, for example, when you think about one of the major motivators that a lot of us have is like money or success and things of that, like, is that intrinsic or is that extrinsic? I think that kind of falls into like the blurred lines of like internalized external pressures or just different things that we've adopted as our own from just like the environments that we've been like socialized in. Like we know that we can't live without money and stuff. Like we need money to live and other people need money to live. So when you look at, I want to be money and like be successful, is that external motivation or is that internal motivation? So I think that's like a really interesting thing to kind of think about, and we can broaden it out to like more kinds of examples so it's not as, you know, blurred. But I think the interesting idea about thinking about the idea of internal and external motivation is that there's always inherently some kind of link and connection between the two, because we cannot like necessarily separate ourselves from the society that we're in and all the different influences and pressures that are just kind of imposed onto us and that we inherently kind of just internalize. So this isn't at all to say that we aren't individual and we don't think for ourselves, because I do think that we all do have a degree of, free will. But I think it is important to realize that a lot of things that we strive for and we look at and we glamorize and we maybe even demonize and stuff are products of our environment and where we've come from. And the thing about society and the thing about just the waves of human existence is that it's very dynamic and it changes. So I think that that's why it's worth almost taking a pause and thinking about, the connection between what intrinsically motivates you and what externally motivates you. Because if the ties and the things that influence society are constantly changing, and if all your internal motivation is kind of in that blurred area between intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, and internalized external motivation, it's very easy to get lost. And it's very easy to lose yourself. So this relates to the idea of like a herd or a mob or a pack mentality, which is basically describing when people adopt certain behaviors based on an emotional basis rather than a rational basis. So in these situations, you might be led to do things that maybe aren't in your best interest. All right, so obviously nobody wants to lose themselves. And that doesn't sound like a pleasant thing at all. I feel like all of us want to be our own person, so what kind of things can we do to make sure that we just don't get swept up in waves that maybe aren't true to who we are and don't serve where we want to be later on in life? So I think the first step and the first answer that I could maybe provide for how to make sure you don't lose yourself in all of that is to take a step back and really take the time to explore and understand who you truly are. I'm using this NYX palette. It's very well loved, but I'm using this color first. To explore basically who you truly are. I know that's a very complicated question because that kind of gets into the same thing that we're talking about, like who am I versus who have I been told to be. But I think that all of us do have like inherent tendencies and different things that naturally resonate with us and naturally align with where we kind of see ourselves and the kind of life that we really want to create for ourselves, So I think that first question is something that's really, really important. A lot of people explore that question and search for answers through their spirituality, through their religiosity, through philosophy, through astrology, through personality tests and things like that. All really fun stuff, but I think it's interesting when just trying to think about who am I, what are the kind of things that I naturally care about, what are the things that I naturally want to do, and how can I find a way to push and make those things happen and become a reality in my life. All right, so next I'm gonna use this shade right here, this light little shimmer. So the reason I'm figuring out who you are and taking the time to do that internal work is so important is because once you kind of figure out who you are and what your true internal or intrinsic motivations are, it's a lot easier for you to kind of formulate and understand what your purpose is and to begin to form that vision for how you are going to build that life and the different things that you need to improve or develop within yourself. And that's why it's important for us to focus on what's within our locus of control. We have so much abundance and potential within us, and it becomes most apparent once we're willing to tap into our natural abilities and skill sets and all the resources around us. The thing about external or extrinsic motivation is that it's dynamic, and depending on your setting and who you're around and different influences like that, your different extrinsic motivations can shift and they can change. You need to make sure that you know what the differentiation is between your intrinsic and your extrinsic motivation, so that when you're in situations where you are in a setting change or you're around different kind of influences, you don't lose sight of who you are and you don't set yourself up to be misaligned with the vision that you see for yourself. The thing about your purpose and your legacy is that the way to solidly build that foundation and to build a legacy that you're actually proud of and that aligns with what you've dreamed of is consistency. And the only way to really hold to and to breathe that consistency is by holding true to that purpose and actually knowing what that purpose is. All right, so next I'm gonna use this Revlon Color Stay eyeliner. I have it in black brown. It was actually a mistake. I didn't mean to pick this up, but I actually like it. All right, so now I'm about to use my poreless primer from e.l.f. But yeah, like I was saying, basically knowing yourself is really important for helping you find your intrinsic motivation and balance that with other external or extrinsic motivations or motivators. But then it also, more importantly, helps you find your purpose and find your vision and create that vision. So I feel like that's where the idea of like influencers and mood boards and reading books and all that kind of stuff is so important, because it helps you create that vision. It helps you dream bigger and see more, and to give yourself the opportunity to open yourself up to more possibilities, more things than you maybe had ever seen before or you even knew were a possibility. So for that reason, all of those motivators and just motivation as a whole is a beautiful thing, you know? But it's only the first part. So for this conversation, the definitions of discipline that we'll use are basically to train or develop with instruction and to exercise what you've learned, especially with self-control, or also the rules or the systems of rules that govern your conduct or your activity. So discipline basically, for the sake of this conversation, is the motor or what brings those motivations and that vision to light. It's basically what is going to ensure that the things that you're doing, the way you're behaving, aligns with what you want to happen in the future. And the discipline behind it is what actually helps that vision become part of your reality and gives you the potential to make it not just a vision and not just like a purpose that you hold intrinsically, but actually to use it to build a legacy and to use it to actually manifest into your real life and into your journey, so you can look back and be like, yeah, I did that. And how did you do that? It wasn't just the motivation alone. The thing about motivation is that it's only going to take you so far. When I think about the idea of like how motivation and discipline will get you the full course to your goals or whatever your vision is, you kind of start here, you have an idea, you get inspired, you get motivated, you go through that ideation phase and you're excited and you're inspired, you know? But like nothing worth having comes easy. So I feel like that discipline is what helps you navigate through those difficult periods and stuff. It helps you get over those mountains and get past those different obstacles so that you're able to bring your vision to its full course. So I'm using this highlighter from NARS. I got it in Radiant Creamy Concealer. Oh, that's not what it is. This concealer from NARS, and I have it in the shade Walnut. But basically, like I was saying, you have motivation right here that'll give you about like half of the way and stuff. So you're right here with motivation, but then where's the rest of the way? And I feel like that's where a lot of us kind of get stuck, where it's like, this is something that I know I want to do, you know, or I know maybe I feel like I have to do this, but I can't get to that next step. I can't get myself to get out of bed. I can't get myself to put in the work to actually bring that thing to fruition. And that gap is discipline. And I know that's like not the funnest thing or like, you know, the most attractive thing to say, because everybody wants a magic solution. But the truth is, discipline will literally take you the rest of the way. Once you have a vision and you're disciplined enough to actually do the work and bring that vision to light, to do the work and figure out what it takes to bring that vision to light, nothing can stop you. But yes, discipline is necessary for any kind of task that takes any kind of endurance or persistence. So especially when you look at situations where the process itself is especially arduous or something that you don't want to do, you know, but you know the result is worth it. Or even if the process itself is somewhat enjoyable, sometimes you do need that extra push to get you through it, to make you actually, you know, reach that goal and reach those dreams that you're looking for. And that's where discipline comes into play. And the definition of self-discipline is one's ability to control their feelings and to overcome one's weaknesses, and also the ability to pursue what one believes is right despite temptations to abandon it. So to contour, I'm using this LA Girl Pro Conceal. But yeah, when you look at the common themes between all the people that most of us regard as the greats or the goats of anything in their respective fields, or even if you just look like closer to home at the people who you admire, what is the common theme that you see between all of them? You see this incredible theme of consistent focus, of dedication to whatever their craft is or whatever that vision or goal is. The example for this could be looking at someone like Beyonce or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. You could also look at your mom, you know? A lot of us look at our moms and we're like, wow, she's amazing and stuff. Like, she did all these things and whatever things that you want to attribute to your mom and you're grateful for your mom for, you know? That image that you have of your mom wasn't made overnight. That was a consequence of the consistent love and support that you probably got from her or from anybody else that you admire that's been there for you. That's the thing about purpose, and that's the thing about legacy, that it's always breeded from a level of consistency. I think all of us can definitely relate to the feeling of not wanting to get out of bed and not wanting to do stuff and just wishing that you could just be lazy and not have to like necessarily depend on yourself to get the things done that you want to get done. But unfortunately, that's not our reality. And if you want to get something done, then you have to take the steps within yourself to make sure that you're making those moves and to take those steps consistently and to show up consistently as your best self and consistently pushing for this dream and for this vision that you're trying to manifest for your life. It takes discipline. All right, I'm gonna do my setting powder, and my trick for setting powder to make sure it's like nice and warm, especially because I'm darker skinned, I usually like to get a little bit of my blush on top of my brush, and then after I have a nice little, you know, little coat, I then go into my setting powder and then put that on, and then I press it into my skin like this. And this way I've seen that I get a lot less flashback and, you know, makes it look nice and warm. But yes, discipline is going to get you the rest of the way. Discipline is what's actually going to be the motor behind making your dreams come to fruition and bringing you a life that you deserve, because you were disciplined and you work for it. So for my contour, I'm back with my Juvia's Place palette, and I'm using this tone over here. So I'm gonna set my contour. So yes, the whole idea of motivation and discipline are both really, really important when looking at being successful at any kind of thing. You need to make sure you have the right motivators that are gonna keep you on the right track to actually be disciplined enough to follow it through. So that's where the whole discussion about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation comes in, because to be disciplined to get it done, you have to be consistent. And to be consistent, then whatever the motivators are also need to be constants in your life as well. So that's something to also really take into consideration. So the next thing with that whole idea with being disciplined, that means also taking on different habits that will keep you accountable or hold you accountable for actually being disciplined, and keep you in a place where you can actually hold yourself accountable for those different things that you've promised yourself. All right, we're gonna go in here with this tone right here to contour my nose again. So when I talk about like different tools, so those tools can be things to help you center yourself and balance yourself. So whether that's like different self-care practices, you know, exercising, doing different activities that you just enjoy, different things like that are really important for keeping your battery full. You can't operate from an empty battery. And I think that's also really important to consider when thinking about your goals and this whole idea about discipline and getting things done. You also have to realize that we're people and everything. We don't have infinite energy. we have a capacity. We do have limits, you know? So you gotta make sure that you're feeling yourself and that you're putting yourself in a situation to be successful. So that goes with taking care of yourself. That also goes with surrounding yourself with the right people. That also goes with the whole idea of taking on different habits to help you stay organized and to keep you on track. So if it's stuff like work or like a business or school or different things like that, keep a planner, you know, different things like that. So you can hold yourself accountable and stay disciplined, but you don't have to feel like all the pressure, or you don't have to like increase the amount of pressure or anxiety that you might have around different things like that, because we also don't want to do that. All right, now we're gonna go in with some blush. But yeah, y'all, I really believe that we really are capable of doing so much. And I think the beautiful thing about being human and being in this form is that we really do have so much potential with us, and like basically all the tools that we need to create whatever thing we want in our reality. We have all the tools, you know? It's just about making sure that we're disciplined and that we're correctly motivated, and then literally magic can happen. So for highlight, I'm about to use my NYX palette again. So I'm using this shade right here. So yes, it's really important to make sure that you're also not putting undue pressure on yourself as you strive to achieve these different goals and this vision that you have for yourself. A lot of times things aren't easy, so I'm not gonna act like things are easy, especially things that are worth putting all that work in for, but it's also never worth your mental health or your physical or just overall wellness. You know, you just wanna make sure that you're finding that balance as you're on this journey. All right. Almost done. I'm just gonna do some spray and then we'll do our eyelashes and then lips. But yeah, I think that we all do have so much potential and we can all do so much. It's just important that we consistently do things to contribute to the life that we want to exist in and give life to the types of behaviors and the types of energies that will, you know, build a life that we want to exist in. All of us are part of the story, and all of us are really essential in actually creating the way this story looks for each of us and the way all these different things come to fruition and manifest. And I think, like I've said before, once you feel like you're out of control, then you've literally given up control. So when you're in situations where you want to do something and you want to make it a reality and you want to make it happen for yourself, the first thing is to like look at why you want it, look at your motivators. But then the next step is to think about how can you make this a reality? What tools do you have in your toolkit, or what different things can you tap into to make this part of your reality? All right, y'all, I'm back. Lashes, lips, and hair all done. So thank you all so much for making it to the end of this video and for vibing with me. Closing thoughts, we all have so much power and so much potential within us. It's just about being intentional and taking those steps to really find ways to channel that energy into things that we really want to see manifest for our lives and we really want to see for ourselves. But thank you all so much for vibing with me. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to join the fam and to catch some more vibes. And I'll see y'all next time.